I stood before the mirror, smoothing the soft fabric of my navy dress, my fingers lingering on the hem. I'm Sophie Reynolds, and tonight was the annual gala for my husband, David Reynolds' companion. Night I hoped would pull us closer. After months of drift, I brushed on mascara, whispering a quiet wish that the evening might rekindle the warmth we'd lost. David's voice cut through my thoughts, sharp and impatient. Sophie, you ready? We're late. His tone lacked the tenderness I craved. But I forced a smile and joined him at the venue. The room buzzed with polished suits and clinking glasses. David dove into the crowd, his charisma lighting up every conversation, while I trailed behind offering polite nods. Then he turned to a group, grinning. My wife's probably plotting dinner while I keep the lights on. Laughter rang out, but it hit me like a slap. My role shrunk to a cheap joke. I smiled through the sting, hiding the ache. But as the night wore on, David's neglect grew clearer. He left me to wander alone, a ghost among strangers, their whispers cutting deeper. She's not what I pictured for him. A doubt seated itself in my chest. Did he even see me anymore? Later, needing air, I stepped away only to spot David by the bar, laughing with a woman in a sharp black dress. Her confidence radiated, her hand brushing his sleeve. My stomach twisted as I edged catching closer. His words, Lydia, you always keep things interesting. Lydia, his new paralegal. The name H dropped casually too often lately. There is his animated smile. It was a version of him I hadn't seen in ages. When he noticed me, his face flickered with annoyance. Oh, Sophie, he said flat. Lydia's cool gaze sized me up before she smirked at him, a silent understanding passing between them. I mumbled an excuse and fled outside, the night air cold against my burning cheeks. Their closeness wasn't just friendly, it was intimate and the truth. It crashed over me. David was slipping away, maybe already gone. That night I waited in our bedroom, heart pounding as I steeled myself. When David walked in reeking of bourbon and her perfume, I couldn't hold back. Who's Lydia to you? I asked, voice shaky. He froze, then scowled. She's my paralegal, Sophie. What's this about? I pushed harder. You were all over her tonight, lying, touching her. Am I imagining that? His jaw tightened and he brushed past me, yanking off his tie. You're seeing things. She's a coworker. Stop blowing it up. His dismissal stung worse than a lie. I'm not blind, David. I deserve the truth, he snorted. You're paranoid. Go to bed. I've got work. He flipped off the light, leaving me in the dark. But my hurt hardened into resolve. If he wouldn't talk, I'd find answers myself. The next morning, I called my friend Rachel, my anchor since high school. She arrived, her eyes soft as I spilled everything. The gala, Lydia, David's coldness. Sophie, she said, squeezing my hand, you don't deserve this. He's taking you for granted. Her words sank in, stirring something dormant. It spent years propping up David's dreams, sidelining mine, but for what? You're stronger than you know. She added, start putting yourself first. I've got your back. Alone later. I stared at my reflection. Weren't but not defeated. Rachel was right. My worth wasn't tied to David's approval. A spark flicker ready could rebuild with or without him. Another event loomed days later, and though I dreaded it, David insisted I attend. The ballroom glittered, but I felt like an outsider as he abandoned me again. I sat beside his boss, Henry, a warm man with a steady presence. We chatted and he praised my calm amid the chaos. Then I noticed his Mila faint odd smell. The sauce off color. My guts screamed danger. Henry. I whispered, don't eat that. Something's wrong. He paused. Then discreetly alerted staff. They confirmed tampering, Zomians, sabotage. Henry turned to me, grateful you might be saved. Me, Sophie. David, overhearing, snapped. Why do you always interfere? His irritation cut, but Henry's not bolstered. Need done right, no matter what he thought. The drive home was icy. David's silence heavy. At home he exploded. You humiliated me, modeling in front of Henry. Do you know how that looks? I stood firm. I wasn't meddling. He stopped a disaster. Why can't you see that? He scoffed. Pacing, you're not the hero here, Sophie. Just a wife who doesn't get it. His cruelty hit hard, but I held my ground. If doing what's right bothers you, That's your problem, he stormed off, and I sat alone, realizing his ego blinded him to my strength. I wasn't invisibly was waking up. Lydia grew bolder, her visits to our house blatant, her smirks cutting. One night she lounged beside David, reviewing files, her laughter grating dry. Lucky to have you at home, she said, dripping sarcasm. I bit back a retort, biding my time. After she left, I dug into David's laptop emails, bank records proof piling up, gifts. Trips a secret account. He was funding her life while dismissing mine. I confronted him, papers in hand. Explain this, he waved it off. Business Sophia wouldn't understand. His arrogance fueled me. I met Henry's job offer next day, consulting, a chance to shine. I took it, and with Rachel's help, hired a lawyer. David thought it fade, instead it rise.